they had that big of a snowfall. And let's look at the snow and the trail that's right along where the advisories were posted. We had a little burst there over Minnesota for us over the past 24 hours. So we did get decent snowfall for us here. Minneapolis, that shot of snow. The biggest snow event of the season so far has been a measly 2.7 inches. A lot of spots in the Midwest are double-digit below average, and our clipper is going to clip right through the Great Lakes and into the Northeast. We're going to get strong winds with this system as it is pushing eastbound. Here's our energy that's going to come on through, and at the surface, we're going to have a very tight gradient with our winds, and so that means we're already gusting 20, 23 miles an hour. Kansas City and also into Wichita, gusting around 30 miles an hour. There's the actual system. It's shocking that it's rain in Chicago, I've got to tell you, at this point in the season. Alpena, Lansing, you'll get in on the snow as well. Snowfall rates, we could get 1 inch an hour and brief bursts of 2 inches an hour with this system that's making its way through Grand Rapids, pushing into Saginaw as well. And then it's going to head into the Northeast. And I will say behind it, with all the winds, we are going to continue to see that lake effect snow linger because only 4% of the Great Lakes are covered in ice right now. So that all pushes into New England. You see for our Thursday, kind of lingers into our Friday, and then you will see the Great Lake snow coming in. We got the Tug Hill Plateau, little elevation here. It's just a few thousand feet. It doesn't take a lot to squeeze out a little more moisture here coming off of Ontario. And otherwise, it's kind of 1 to 3, 3 to 5, which is very Clipper-esque. And those wind advisories, we could see winds gusting to 50 miles an hour. I would actually not be shocked if we saw them even higher than that in some locations, especially right off the lakes. So as this comes through the afternoon, very breezy for us. That lasts into our Friday morning. Look at that 40, 50 mile an hour winds. Everything is going to continue to push east, but it always takes a little bit of time for the winds to kind of taper off. Those tend to linger for us, and they will in this scenario too. But I got to tell you, overall, not super heavy snowfall for us. 3 to 5 really there into the palm of Michigan, and then over towards Boston, where we didn't get a whole lot with this last storm. Again, we're not going to do much better with this one. Maybe an inch of snow for us. It's like you won't even notice it, right? Temperatures have been just so warm here in and around Boston, Worcester, a little maybe farther out of the city. You get a touch cooler. That could give you a little more snowfall. But, I mean, Kelly, we're talking like inch and a half type of a thing. It's not going to be great. But as you know, right off the lake, and there's your elevation, that's what's going to squeeze out the most snow.
There are the tugs right there.
In Syracuse.
Yeah, that's just, you might as well just give up and we'll start again next year.
I know. At that point,
too much.
We're going to need a lot. And the pattern's really not setting up like that to get that much snow. There's still time, though. There's still March. We get some good March storms. All right, what's going on in the atmosphere? We have our system here in the west. That's a little messy. We have the system going through the Great Lakes. We have another one that's setting up off the west coast that's going to come in, and then you can see energy that is pulled out of the northeast. So let's watch it all play through. There's our clipper that comes on in. Here is kind of the lingering effects of the system we have today, and then a much bigger system in size coming in. And then don't forget this that's going to go through the south. I mean, it is all over the place. We have so much weather that's going to be happening for us. That's going to bring some rain, and then we are going to stay on this atmospheric river train in the west. Let's focus on the south because we do have some energy and some moisture that's going to come in. It's really going to be an I-10 corridor type of a situation for us here in the south. And then, of course, over into Florida, we will dry out as we head into the weekend. So notice that really southern Texas, 2 to 3 inches is where you get it. This energy is coming from the west, and there'll be a tail end of it that brings some rain down into the south. Like I said, it was really messy. You saw those little blitz and bobs of energy across the country. It's a super messy scenario for us, and we still have the drought. Listen, it's not over in Louisiana, but things are much improved. So we'll take these showers that we're going to get, even if it is more into those coastal parishes. It's not going to be a lot. Again, this is that western system with the tail end. That kind of clips the area into Mississippi, where we do need some of that heavy rain, where we have the exceptional drought, though there is a new drought monitor coming out today. So I'll be curious to see how the past week's rain factors into that, and if we still have exceptional there into portions of Mississippi. A little bit of a closer look at Corpus Christi. Kelly, I think this is what sticks out to me the most. 65. I can't make that noise of like it dropping. Thank you. 51 on Saturday. Yeah, I tried.
All right, Steph, I'm in your next.
For sure they don't tread on those tires. Well, ahead on this Thursday edition of America's Morning Headquarters, missing out on the snow. You can't call it Minnesota this winter, why the flakes aren't flying this season. We finally got some, at least. Let's get you out the door in the Northeast. Another where this is all coming from. Came from Canada, diving down through the Great Lakes, and then into the Northeast. If we look at that area of the country, it has been excessively warm, 5 to 10 degrees above average for this winter. And that's one of the reasons we don't have a lot of snow on the ground in the Midwest and the Northeast. Look at our winter temperature rankings. 1, 2, 3 for a lot of cities here across the board. It has been hot. If you look at Minneapolis, we had 1 week in January, essentially, where we've had those temperatures well below average. Otherwise, it has been hot, 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 hot. And if we continue on this trend, which, by the way, it kind of looks like we're going to, there's not that much cold air coming in, we're going to have an excessively warm, I bet you February ranks as one of the hottest that we've ever seen. So let's talk specifically about Minneapolis. Season-to-date snow before yesterday, only 7.3 inches. That's pitiful. Yesterday, we had a record-setting 6.9, and that was the biggest storm we've actually seen all season. So we're now at 14.2 inches, if you add all that up. We did the math for you, but we are still nearly 2 feet below average on snowfall. And by the way, if we don't get another 3+ inches, we could be in one of the least snowiest seasons here in Minneapolis that we've ever seen. So we are rivaling that right now. I know there's still a lot of time left, but just showing you 17 to 20 inches is the least snowiest. It's not just Minneapolis. A lot of spots here, double digits below average. One of the reasons is we're in El Nino. That does help warmer air get into the upper Midwest for us. If we look at last winter, we were well above average with 90.3 inches. And you know why? We were in a La Nina, and the La Nina gives us more snow here into portions of Minnesota. You have cooler air dipping in that allows more snow to pile up there into spots like Minnesota and Wisconsin. Yeah. So we need like a big, huge couple of nor'easters back to back to back, like we saw. What year was that? 2015? I can't remember. Where there was just like every other week or every week there was one. Anyhow, thanks to our virtual view technology, I'm standing in Keener Plaza Park in St. Louis, where clouds will eventually turn to snow later this week. Ground and air temperatures are warm, so not a lot of accumulation. Maybe a solid band or two north of the city. St. Louis has a 6-inch snow drought on the season. For you Cardinals fans, spring training has finally started in Jupiter, Florida. Pitchers and catchers with their first workout yesterday. I know it's very exciting for a lot of people, especially people who just love baseball. You're so pumped about this. St. Louis, we've got the snow here, but notice our temperatures very marginal into the mid-30s, and so that's why it makes things a lot harder to snow out. You get a rain-snow mix, or you just get kind of the heavy wet stuff. We do have cooler air coming in, but it's not Arctic air, so that's the good news. We're not going to see these frozen temperatures. We essentially kind of just go back to average, even some of us still a little bit above, a little bit below. It's nothing dramatic, right? We do have energy that's going to help give us lift. That goes through the plains. We also get some energy coming in from the west. That can help give us a little lift, but it's not a lot. 1 to 3, 3 to 5 inches of it. Let's show you the forecast as we go through the night tonight and into tomorrow. There's your snow coming. I mean, there's just not a lot to it, though. The system from the west is going to then scoop east, and our temperatures, as you can see, still stay pretty mild for us. Into the mid-Atlantic, 1 to 3, obviously where you have higher elevation, you get a little bit more, 3 to 5 there into the Appalachians. But when you're starting out into the 40s and 50s, it's really hard to get that snow. Obviously, the temperatures drop as you head overnight, but they're still marginal, especially to D.C. and Philly, down to Richmond. It's rain for us, maybe a little snow mixed in if you're lucky, but overall not a whole lot. Hey, it sweeps out fairly quickly. Saturday's looking a lot better, which is great. Artemis, I'm just so excited for that to get off the ground and get running there. Let's get you out the door in the southeast and show you storm after storm. Now, speaking of storms, Winter Storm Lorraine has moved out of the northeast, but the region is not done with the snow. Is reporting 125 crashes between noon and 9 p.m. on Valentine's Day, along with 74 vehicles that spun out and 1 jackknife semi. And it wasn't just Minneapolis. You can see exactly that trail of snow was right where those advisories were set up, and we were telling you where they were going to be at. Here is our record of 6.9. It's so sad to see the previous biggest snow event for Minneapolis this season was 2.7 inches. I mean, that's pitiful, isn't it? But we did get a nice record setting yesterday. So where do we have to worry about it today? Wisconsin, Michigan, and then moving into the Northeast as well. And we have energy that is just racing through, and it's going to clip parts of, you know, Green Bay over into like Lansing, Michigan. The winds are going to be a huge deal with this. I mean, we are gusting already 25, 30 miles an hour. We could gust as high as 50 miles an hour with this system. So there's your snow. Milwaukee, Green Bay, we're getting towards the backside of it. Lansing, you've got the clouds, but we will get that snow coming in. And we could see snowfall rates at 1 inch an hour and perhaps bursts of 2 inches an hour. And that's the kind that is hard to keep up with. And even the plows, they do the best they can, but 2 inch an hour snowfall rates are a lot. Heavy wet stuff here too, coming into lower Michigan, Detroit, Cleveland. You're getting rain. I mean, so many people are getting rain out of this. Pittsburgh, Buffalo, you kind of have it all. It's a smorgasbord with Albany, state capital there of New York, getting the snow. Even Boston getting snow, but it's not a lot. So don't get too excited if you're a snow lover. And by the way, the lakes are wide open. Only 4% of the Great Lakes are covered in ice. So we will see lake effect snow linger behind this. And overall, 1 to 3, 3 to 5. You know what this is? Tug Hill Plateau, little elevation. All you need is a few thousand feet, and you can squeeze out that much more snow for you. There are your wind advisories, because this will be a big deal. I mean, you could have more power outages. I know people are still recovering from Lorraine with the heavy wet snow and the power outages with that. But look at our winds through the afternoon. Flights will be delayed. They're going to have bumpy travel if you're just flying through this vicinity. And there's your gusts, especially coming off the lake, as high as 50 miles an hour, and into the major cities here in the Northeast. You'll be getting gusty as well. Snow? Unless you have that little elevation to squeeze a little more out. We're talking 3, 4 inches. There's always an overachiever, though, always an overachiever. Here into Boston, even back west into Worcester. You know, we're talking about 1 inch of snow. It's just been so warm, Kelly. This is also a quick hitter, so we're not going to see loads late. We're going to need a lot more to make up on our double-digit deficits.
Yeah, there you go.
Say that 3 times fast.
DDD.
There you go.
Yeah, very different.
Still sticking around. Need the jacket still.
Yeah, it's cold, but it's not Arctic. I mean, I'm like...
No.
This is like nothing compared to what mid-February could be, right? 30
True.
below is what we should be seeing. Let's talk about all the different pieces of energy we have in the atmosphere. All right, so we have this, which is a system going through the Midwest and eventually into the Northeast. We have some weather here in the West that's going to linger. And by the way, a piece of this is going to go east as well. You have another system that's going to come into the west, and then we're going to look also for energy to develop down here to bring us weather into the south. And there comes that energy, which is going to bring some heavy rain into southern Texas. This is our clipper that just went through. This is the energy that I was just showing you was in the west, and then there is our next system coming ashore. I mean, is that a lot or what? I hope that you were able to follow all that, because that was, I maybe should have like numbered them or labeled them like A, B, C, D to tell you what was happening with that. Saturday, we get a pretty large atmospheric river coming into the west for us. But let's focus in on this little southern piece of energy, and we've had that subtropical jet streaming across. So we've got the moisture, we got the lift, but it stays really along the I-10 corridor and over into Florida as well. Notice Texas, Florida, that's where we have the heaviest rain. This right here is that piece of energy I was showing you in the west today. That goes all the way east and actually makes its way through the mid-Atlantic. We'll get to that as well. So that translates, both of those translate to drought helpers. We're still dry, and we will get that rain from the south and also the rain from that piece of energy coming from the west. So it's really kind of good. But you see that subtropical jet bringing the clouds across, some of that moisture for us. So as we go through really tonight into tomorrow, you'll see this southern piece blossom. There's a northern piece. This is the energy that's in the west right now that's going to kind of break off and move east, and both of those areas will bring rain over spots that need it. And then Florida, unfortunately, we get more weekend showers for you. Kelly, I just wanted to point out Corpus, 65 on Friday, only 52 on Saturday. You're going to feel that.
Little faux pas there,
the
Steph?
difference, yeah. Our virtual view technology. I'm standing in Keener Plaza Park in St. Louis, where, yes, we have some clouds, but guess what's going to happen? That's going to turn into snow later in the week, thanks to a system coming from the west. But it's just been so warm. We're not expecting loads of accumulation. There's not a super ton amount of moisture with it. Maybe some solid bands, north of the city. St. Louis has a 6-inch snow drought this season. For you Cardinals fans, spring training has finally started in Jupiter, Florida. Pitchers and catchers with their first workout yesterday. So let's look at that forecast and show you the snow that will be coming in for us here into St. Louis. We've got it, but notice the temperatures. We're sitting above freezing, and there's things that can happen in the atmosphere. The temperature does not have to be 32 degrees or lower to get snow. If it's dry and it starts snowing, there can be evaporation, and that can cool the temperature and head it. If it's snowing heavily, it can get through some of those more mild temperatures. There's a lot of different factors. We will have cooler air. It's not Arctic, like insanely cold air, so that's a positive. But we are going to see how we have like limited moisture coming out. That's one of the players too. We have this boundary, and then we have a system that's actually coming from the west that is going to help enhance some of this snowfall. So that's why overall it's 1 to 3, some of us seeing that 3 to 5 inches for us. And we are going to see these warmer temperatures just kind of hang around. So when we get the colder air in, it's kind of back to average. So it's not super duper cold, but Kansas, Iowa, Illinois, the state of Missouri, all seeing it. But notice the air temperatures. We're really just right around that freezing mark. So a lot of the snow might be a rain-snow mix. Could just all be rain for some of you as well. It moves into the mid-Atlantic. That's where we'll see higher totals and higher elevations. Obviously, it squeezes out more snow for you. And it's rain into Lexington with maybe snow on the backside. Showers also coming in and out quite quickly here. Your Sunday is looking at this. And of course, I went to Space Camp and I saw them building Artemis. I visited there in Alabama and Huntsville where they're actually building it. So anyways, it's all very exciting. And then the Space Coast. Let's get to where the Space Coast is located. Feet of snow, 3, 4, 5. Winter Storm Lorraine has moved out in the northeast, but the region is not done with snow. Much snowfall, and of course, caused problems on the road. Minnesota State Patrol reported 125 crashes between noon and 9 p.m. on Valentine's Day, along with 74 vehicle spinouts and 1 jackknifed semi-trailer. It wasn't just Minnesota. We got it all the way back here into South Dakota, over into Wisconsin and Michigan as well, where the system still is. This is our record. This was one event, 6.9. The biggest event we've had until yesterday, 2.7 inches. 2.7 inches was the most we saw from one event, which is just so crazy to think about. But this is the path of the next system where you have all these advisories posted, and you can see that energy. This is your upper level energy that's coming on in. And at the surface, we are going to see some very strong winds. This will be a story today into tomorrow, and the winds will still keep that lake effect snow going because only 4% of the Great Lakes have ice. And so that means they are wide open for business when cooler air goes over them. But we've already, Peoria gusting to 30. We've seen places like Wichita and the same. Kansas City was gusty as well. Green Bay, Chicago, 28. Detroit, 30. So flights are going to be bumpy. Flights could be delayed, even though you might look outside and go, I don't see any weather. When they say, oh, it's weather, you're like, there's no weather. There is in the form of wind, which you might not be able to see at an airport because there's no trees blowing or anything like that, right? Here are the totals so far, anywhere from 1 to 4 inches, and that's basically what it will be until it gets into the northeast and hits the Tug Hill Plateau and gets a little bit of elevation here off of Ontario. But of course, the lakes will help fuel this a little bit, and that snow gets into the northeast this evening, kind of lingers into our Friday. Then the winds behind it will continue to produce that lake effect snow for us. And there's your 5 to 8 inches. Can you figure out where the elevation is? And it doesn't take a lot. just a few thousand feet, and that's where you're going to pop off some of that heavier snow. But the wind advisory stretch from Massachusetts all the way to Ohio, and we will see 20, 30, 40, 50-mile-an-hour winds with this. It's not only Thursday, but also Friday, and the winds always take a little bit of time to die down, and so that's what we're going to see as this system blows on through. Here is our forecast still to come. You know, the system is starting to really taper off from the west to the east. So 1 to 2, 2 to 3. I mean, not even really plowable here, maybe shovelable if, Kelly, you want to keep some of your sidewalks clean and whatnot. So they're maybe a little less slippery, but it's just too marginal with those temperatures and not enough moisture.
I was going to say, sometimes you grab the broom.
Right. There's kind of a lot going on the map, Jordan.
You got the big map there?
We got the big map.
Oh, yeah, it's complicated.
With all, it is, right? Because it's not like we have this one big bundle of energy that's like this, and I can say, oh, look at this just crossed the United States. Hang with me here. This is our clipper, okay? This is system number 1 in the west. Kind of has 2 parts to it. This is like 1, A. We'll call this 1B. Then we're also going to see some energy here into Texas, so watch for that. We'll call that our southern energy. Let me play this out for a second here. I'm going to hit it. That's going to take us into our Friday. This is the clipper, okay? That's over there. This is, remember we were talking about 1A and 1B? 1A is still here. Here's 1B, and then here is the southern energy. You following me? I hope so. Then we have more energy coming into the West Coast. So that's really what's going on as we go into our Saturday. Everything just keeps progressing basically eastbound. We're going to focus on this southern piece because we've got moisture, we've got energy, we've had that southerly jet coming across, but it's really going to stay right along the I-10 corridor where we will see the worst of the weather for us. This, remember there was that system in the west, it was 1A and 1B. This is actually 1B here. Isn't that cool? Isn't that wild? How that works? So 1B and our southern system are going to help with our drought monitor, which will be coming out here. Usually it hits around like the 9, 10 o'clock hour. So we will show you that with, Jen and Alex and Dr. Postel. But here is that subtropical jet bringing the clouds, some moisture. It's not too bad today. We'll actually have really nice weather for us. Rain into southern Texas. That spreads east. This is 1B from the west that I originally said. That's that piece of energy coming in. So that in the southern piece will bring us rain. And then, unfortunately, Florida, not a great weekend ahead for you guys. Saturday and Sunday, there will be some showers. Our forecast also shows, Kelly, big drop in those temps. 65 on Friday in Corpus, only 52 for a high on Saturday with rain. That's not pleasant.
No, especially that cold.
Ahead on this Thursday edition of America's Morning Headquarters, missing out on the snow. Well, you can't call it Minnesota this winter. Why the flakes aren't flying this season, we're actually going to break it down for you. But first, we want to get you out the door. Are those new?
Thanks.
Are those new? I don't
No,
recognize
they're
those.
really old, but I like them. Thank you.
They're very nice. I like them. Well, you've been needing the flip-flops if you live here in the upper Midwest on into the Northeast because it's been so warm this winter. We've been well above average. In fact, we are the number 1, number 2, number 3 warmest winter for numerous cities here into the Great Lakes. Let's talk about the numbers in particular for Minneapolis. Basically, we had 1 week where our temperatures were well below average. Otherwise, it was hot, 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 hot. And I'll tell you what, nothing showing that we have a big Arctic outbreak. We have temperatures bringing us back towards average, but we really pop right back up into that warmth. So season to date, before yesterday's snowfall, so on Tuesday, 7.3 inches. Yesterday on Valentine's Day, 6.9, our biggest snowfall this season. Add those together, and we are currently at 14.2 inches, which is still 20 inches below average. Now, if you look at this number, 14.2, and we look at the least snowiest years, this is for the entire season. So if we stay in this range, may say we get another 3 or 5 inches, we could potentially be in the top 5 here for the least snowiest winters. But there's still a lot of time to go, so we will see about that. And it's not just Minneapolis, Milwaukee, Detroit, Fort Wayne, double digits below average. The reason being, we're in El Nino, warmer temperatures nosing into this area, so you're not going to get as much snow. But look at last winter. Why were we so far above average, actually near our snowiest season ever? It was La Nina, and during La Nina is when you have a better chance of that cooler temperatures and snow in this area, and that would help us produce a lot more snow, which is what we saw. Virtual View Technology. I'm standing in Keener Plaza Park in St. Louis, where these clouds eventually turn into snow. And I'll tell you what, the ground and air temperatures have been so warm, so we're not expecting a lot of accumulation. Maybe a solid band of 2 inches north of the city. St. Louis has a 6-inch snow drought for the season. And for you Cardinals fans, spring training has finally started in Jupiter, Florida. Pitchers and catchers with their first workout yesterday. But hey, it must be the snow for several hours tomorrow, starting in the morning all the way into the afternoon. And look at those temperatures. They stay consistent and they stay on the warm side. So it's not super cool. We do have cool air coming down, but it's not Arctic. So it's not like it's going to be utterly freezing. We've got a surface boundary and upper level energy that's actually going to be coming in from the west. Limited moisture, that's also a player in this. There's some extra energy to help give us a little oomph in the atmosphere, and then that is all going to be progressing east. But as I mentioned, 1 to 3, maybe 3 to 5 north of the Lou. And they'll be proud of that because nobody else is going to see super duper heavy rainfall. There's always someone that overachieves. But this is our system that originated in the west, or pieces of it, I should say. And that is going to be scooping eastbound. But notice temperatures 30s. Mid-low 30s. We do get cooler, obviously, overnight. That's when you have a better chance of seeing that snow. It hits the mid-Atlantic as we head tomorrow into Saturday, but it will be clearing out for our Sunday, which is nice because look at the timing coming in for our Friday evening from Columbus to Cincy, down even towards Knoxville if you have plans. Saturday early morning, you've got the snow, but as we head through the day, things are going to be getting better because the system will just keep moving out. So at least Saturday is looking nice, and as we head into our Sunday as well. Here's a look at Nashville, maybe a little rainstorm. Nashville saw snow, earlier this weekend? I remember seeing they got a nice little layer of snow there. Saturday, sunshine and 38 degrees for us. And our forecast in Philly shows kind of the same, that mix, because those temperatures stay so mild.